Welcome, everyone. Lovely to see you all. I'll do a quick plug. It's after the false alarm of this doubtless uncertainty. It is finally available on Amazon. So let's hope it's all goes smoothly now. But yeah, it's published today. So I would say it's exciting, but the excitement's all past because of the it's anticlimactic, bit like life in general. But yeah, the book is out. If you fancy, buy it for all your friends for Christmas, because it's just what they want.
Is the Kindle edition working now?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Just in paperback at the moment. Kindle to come. Thy Kindle come, thy will be done. Fuck, that was that even by my standards, that was shit. But it was shit, but it made my brother giggle. He's giggling. We're giggling away to that. He's muttering. I've got my brother muttering in my ear. I want to emphasize And I can't emphasize enough that I didn't find what I was looking for. I had a few different ideas of what I was looking for. You've probably, you know, gone through a range of, most people would call them spiritual goals, you know, things you've heard of, you've heard speak of. The peace that passes all understanding. Bliss, of course. I remember that was pretty high on my list. Unconditional love. Oh yeah, just a bog standard one. Just everyday happiness. But you know, you're expecting the happiness to be a little bit more than you've experienced before, you know, not just some kind of special happiness. And of course, a happiness that doesn't come and go. I've some really, really shit news on you getting happiness that doesn't come and go. Happiness, like all appearances, because emotions, feelings are appearances, how it seems to be. So we say, I feel happy or I feel sad, but it's an appearance. A feeling and an emotion is how it seems to be. And how it seems to be does not stay the same. So no wonder most people I know who have been seekers stay seeking, because there's no end to this not being quite how I think it is for the special ones, the human beings for whom it's all changed. For the human beings who aren't there anymore, you know, the ones who are no one. Well, there aren't any ones who are no one. There just aren't any ones that are someone. I've never had a sense of being no one. There's no one to be no one or someone. There's no more knowing. In fact, the knowing is just, I come out with shit like unknowing and not knowing. Sounds like I don't know anything. Well, that's not true. I know as much, if not more shit than I ever did when I was a school teacher, when knowing was important. What seems to have, the change is, if there's a shift, which there isn't, it's that knowing is no longer important. I don't hold any store by knowing. I really don't care whether I know or not, because the caring about knowing, the importance of knowing, is all for me, to keep the illusion that I know alive. And if knowing loses its substance, its reality, and by that I mean there is knowing, but I really don't know that I know. I don't know how I know. I don't really know knowing from not knowing. And neither do you. But me insists that knowing has to be real, that knowledge is something solid, something really tangible, when in fact it's made up. So now there's no doubt that every human being who tells me what they know, all, all I can do is smile, because I don't doubt that they think they know. And that's what knowing means. All knowledge is, I think I know. I thinks that it knows this to be true. And from that, I also know what's false. Well, there's only this, whatever seems to be happening, what seems to be going on. And there's absolutely no way of knowing if it's real or it's unreal, whether it's a dream or it's reality, whether it's true or it's false, because it's all there is. Now, if there is only all there is, then real and unreal lose all meaning. And so you hear speakers talk about this as meaningless. And it's not that meaning doesn't appear, it's that meaning doesn't mean anything. It's not that mattering doesn't appear. It's not that those human beings you love don't matter more than those you've never met. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It's totally natural. It seems to me as though it seems very clear that human beings, through the sense of self, are essentially grandiose, and everything revolves. There aren't any selves who aren't grandiose. The most humble selves are very proud of their humility and have pride in, or the really generous selves. Look how giving I am, and look how generous I am. Look how selfless I am. There's no exception to this for self. It is only concerned about itself. And if, again, there isn't a problem with that, it's completely innocent. There is something that and the Knowles, who I've always really resented, they're just as innocent as the, the most humble, the most self-effacing, the most generous, gracious, kind, loving individuals. Those totally self-centered arseholes, they're still as beautifully innocent as what we would typically, most people would call typically the beautiful people. You just prefer the company of kind over arseholes, generally. But they're no better. No one's better. There's no one to be better. There's no higher or lower. And that goes not only for human beings. This equality is absolute. We can't help as human beings to hold our species as, because it's familiarity, we can't help but see them as more familiar, closer, more intimate. But absolutely, the rocks and the trees, the sky and the earth, the absolute emptiness of space, it's all absolutely equal. The equality is total. So it is fucking disappointing that you're not going to be a special one. after a lifetime of trying to be one. But there's the peace that passes on all understanding that I speak of has nothing to do with the feeling of peace. The feeling of peace comes and goes. The peace that passes all understanding does not. It is equally present in agitation, in anger, in resentment, in envy, in jealousy, all the worst traits of being human, all completely beautifully human. And I'll be amazed if you don't get if you have a sense of it at all, you'll cry for all the judgments that self has always made, especially about itself. There's a depth of compassion for all selves who are innocently trying to be good, to be successful, to be whole, to feel complete. Because it's so obviously all innocently happening, and no one is doing any of that. So utterly choiceless, regardless of all the seeming choices. There is a wonderful compassion that seems to appear when it's obvious that all your choices were choiceless. And so are everyone else's. It's not that there's not seeming free will. Free will seems to be a given for most selves. But that's choiceless. They haven't chosen to have free will or not. You never chose anything. No human being has ever chosen anything. But choices have seemingly been made and are made. I think that's often misheard. I think I misheard that for 20 years. So without you to have choice or not, the whole question of free will becomes a moot question. Is there free will or not? Yeah, there appears to be free will. It's kind of the same with everything that you say, is there this or not? Yeah, well, there appears to be that. And if you're waiting for there not to be that, then that's what's happening. Waiting for that to be seen. Well, that's no less. There is no less this, regardless of what's happening. So absolutely nothing matters. Relatively, things seem to matter. But you could ask yourself, well, you know, who do things matter to? And the answer is always me. But again, that can be a waiting game. I've heard that absolutely nothing matters, so I'm waiting till absolutely nothing matters. Well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. No, things matter. Absolutely nothing. Nothing doesn't matter. Nothing, which this absolutely is empty. Emptiness, of course, emptiness doesn't matter, does it? But in the fullness, everything appears. Everything. All the glory, all the bliss, all the joy, all the love, and then every opposite of that. All the hate, all the envy, all the jealousy, all the longing, all the disappointment, all the unfulfilled, all the unrequited love, just freely appearing. It's you best not kid yourself it's what you want. It's no good self-kidding itself that this is what you want. It's not what I ever wanted. I wanted life to be how I wanted it to be. Like every self has ever, could ever. That is the nature of self. I want life to be on my terms. Well, there are no your terms. They don't exist. It's not a possibility. Life is completely and utterly free. There's no rules. And again, it can be obvious that human beings made up the rules. We made up all the rules and then said they were gods. That's the game human beings have been playing, seemingly. Because they can't be just my rules. Otherwise, people they're not going to take notice of that. I better have some higher authority than just me. So the higher authority is either the group of us, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of us who agree with this. These are the rules. But even better is the absolute authority. There's no authority. There's relative authority, absolutely no authority at all. And life with no one in charge, with no source, with the divine and the mundane being absolutely not two, the lowest and the highest, with no space between. That's unconditional love. Well, I've waffled on there a bit. Quite enjoyed that. If you don't have to have a question. If there's something, you've been thinking, oh yeah, but what about, it doesn't have to be a question. As if you have a question and you want me to say there's no answer, then please ask a question. I think that more every time I have a meeting now and then. Any questions? I've just said 16 times that there's no answers. It's not conducive to getting questions. You're all invited to my house next Saturday. You've only got to get here. This is going on YouTube, so for anyone listening on YouTube, if you do want to come, the details are on my website, or just email me at clistim@gmail.com. And believe it or not, the village I live in does have a station, so you can get here by train from London. You can get here by train from Stansted Airport for, you know, if you're thinking of coming from New Zealand, Ileana. It's not far, just down the road. Hi, Sophie.
Yeah.
Hi, Tim. Hi.
Hi.
I have a question. Maybe there is no answer. I don't know. I mean, you said at the beginning that there is no choice and there is no. I mean, I don't argue with that at all. But I was wondering, like, there are still preferences, like liking or not liking.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any choice at all? Like, who are the people in my life? Like, is there a choice in there? You can say, like,
Is there a choice in what?
like, who are the people in my life? About the people in my life, because you can say, like, I like this one and I don't like that one. Is there a choice in there?
And then strangely, you end up with the one that you didn't like.
I hope so not.
I mean, I've heard plenty of those stories. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying there's no choice. I'm saying that it's not your choice. There's no chooser. It's not.
Okay,
It's not the same. So yeah, it seems like it. I mean, if you've got two guys chasing you and they're both vaguely attractive, and you've got to choose one to go out with, they'll be seemingly choosing one to go out with. Yeah. But it's not that there isn't choice, the appearance of choice. It's not that there isn't the appearance of everything that human beings have always say is real. And no, it's just that all of that reality, what we call real life, is an appearance, and it's not done by anybody. So there's really no difference. Here's the thing, you're waiting for life to be completely different. So I'll know when there's no chooser because there'll be no choice. No, there'll be choice just the same as there always was. Choosing. Human beings have the ability to choose, it seems. That's it. What I'm suggesting, and what's always only being suggested, is that just like every other seeming doing, there's no doer, there's no chooser, there's no preferrer. So you say, I prefer. Now, there are definitely preferences, but they're not yours. You don't possess those preferences. The preferences are natural. They're as natural, you preferring, I don't know, tall guys to short guys. I don't know why I've got guys. I should have talked about cheese or jam or something. You like strawberry jam better than marmalade. you say, I prefer jam to marmalade. There's the preference. It isn't you preferring it. The human being called Sophie prefers jam.
But preferring jam is much easier than people, because people are
Now, really, absolutely, it's not.
no.
So no, it's absolutely no. You're making relationships far more complex than they actually are. There is a knowing without any analysis at all of your preference for one human being over another. I would say it's as natural as when dogs meet, two dogs meet, and they instantly snarl and growl at each other. The same two dogs walk down the street a bit further and they meet two other dogs. And there they are, happily wagging their tails and sniffing each other's assholes. Now I'm suggesting you're no different from the dog. The dog just doesn't think that it can choose to prefer something that it doesn't prefer. Whereas we have this incredible ability, which is a curse, but wonderful, that we seem to be able to manufacture the belief, and this is almost universal. Every human being has the belief that they are an autonomous entity that controls the human being's preferences, and I can do something about them. So I can, if I really, so here we'll go back to lovers. So one lover seems much more attractive than the other. There's no doubt you fancy him more, and he's much more attractive to you. But he's a bit of a dick, and he's not a wise choice. So you probably don't. There's a lot of thinking around now. Although I prefer him, is he the best choice?
So all that thinking in between, like yes, no, no, yes, it's also like part of that preference.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And of course, yeah. And but this is liberation for what I'm speaking of is liberation for preference. I will say now, the preferences for Tim as a human being are much more straightforward than they ever were. They're very, very, very simple. There's virtually no discussion. It's almost always clear what is preferable.
You mean like the yes and no, it's more clear, like yes to this and no to that, or
well, I'm not doubting the preference. What self is really good at is self-doubt. So because self says I've made this preference, it's my preference, then it doubts its preference. Self is, I mean, not all selves, some selves are self-assured, but generally most selves are very prone to, and I was very prone to self-doubt. So I would know the preference would be undeniable about what to choose. And then there would be all this repetitive, compulsive thinking it through, trying to ensure that I make the right choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I won't say that doesn't happen at all, but it's clear that doesn't happen anywhere near like it used to, because it's very obvious that I don't know what the right choice is. And the reason I don't know what the right choice is because there isn't a right choice.
So there is not really the right choice, but it's become to be more clear, the yes and no.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, it's
I mean, there still can be doubt about. I mean, the thing is, what's doubtless now is that I don't know any. It's not even that I don't know what the consequences of a choice will be, because that's all self is always trying to is trying to conceptualize, if I choose that, what are going to be the consequences? Well, it's probably going to be this, and so and you're trying to work it out. Well, when there are no, it's not that I don't know the consequences. There absolutely are no consequences. They're only imagined. All consequences is an imagination. I mean, what are the consequences of this meeting? I mean, if I asked 20 of you what the consequences of this meeting would be, I'd have just 20 different answers. That's what a consequence is. It's nonsense. It's fantasy. It's imagination. It's bullshit. Now, beautiful bullshit, you know, predicting the future, but because I'm in the game of trying to keep myself safe, then it seems absolutely rational to try and predict consequences of actions and choices.
Right.
But really, that's nonsense, because no one knows, you know, best laid plans and all that. You know, you've thought it all through, you've worked it all out, and then of course life just shows you you're utterly powerless.
Yeah. I've been there many times, so.
And me too. And all of us, the thing is, this isn't even news. We all know this all along. I mean, you only have to get into early adulthood to see that all your best laid plans were pointless. And, you know, life had other ideas. It didn't, by the way. Life doesn't have any ideas.
I still would like to think that it's like more difficult to choose like who to be with than just choosing a marmalade, you know, or a jam. Or
Yeah, it does. Well, it seems like the consequences are much graver, you know. Yeah, it seems like it's going to last a bit longer. You don't have to get up with the same jam on toast every morning. No.
No. Okay,
And tomorrow you could choose marmalade.
Oh, thanks God for that. Thank you.
I will say, I mean, this non-duality has nothing to say about any. It doesn't have anything to say about anything.
Which is quite a freedom in a way. No, it's free.
But it is much more free. There is a great freedom in the freedom. I can't emphasize enough. It's a weird freedom. It's no freedom for me. It's everything me never wanted, which was no security. But the no security and the freedom go hand in hand. The more security there is, the more you've tried to control life, the more bound the human being you've called yourself is. You just built a prison for yourself.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
But of course, the safest place is a prison.
Yeah.
If you never come out of your cell, if you never engage with another human being, you never risk rejection, you don't take any risks at all. I mean, that's very, very, very safe and terribly imprisoning.
So it's interesting what you're saying, because I used to be like what you just described, like not like going out and trying all kind of stuff, and after that many things fell away in me, and now I just don't know anymore what this is, because I don't know.
No, me neither.
Great.
I mean, you're in the right place for not knowing anything anymore.
Yeah,
this is the not knowing club.
Oh.
I mean, the other week I called it the losers club, and then I thought, oh, it's a bit harsh, really.
Yeah, but it is.
Calling all you beautiful people losers, but of course you are. If you weren't a loser, you wouldn't be here. If you were still trying to be a winner, you're not turning up here. No. This is when you don't care about losing anymore, because absolutely there's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, it is easier, much easier to take. I mean, you're not doing it, and there's no taking risk. But there's much less fear of insecurity. I mean, I was relatively socially risk-taking, I suppose. But there was always fear. There was always anxiety in it, always fear of rejection. And now, of course, rejection would hurt still, but it's just, it would be as it is. It would still be love. It's really strange that there's the completeness of love is so obvious that rejection is love.
So that can still happen, the pain of rejection, because I think like this is the hardest pain, like being rejected. I think.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I would say, yeah. It's in my top 3 probably of painful things that might happen. Unrequited love is, I mean, relational love between human beings. If love that's completely unrequited is, it can be excruciating. Yeah,
It is.
this isn't a denial of the pain of being human. It's absolutely the opposite of that. It's there's no place to hide from it anymore. I can't.
No.
So a lot of what I did was hiding from being human. It was hiding from the emotions I didn't like, the feelings I didn't want. And now it seems there's no hiding place. Being human is inescapable. And being human is all of it.
I thought like that the pain of rejection would be like very much belongs to the me, but even dogs can reject each other, right? But I don't know if they have pain, like if dog rejects each other.
Oh, absolutely. You look at animals who are, you could say, like sentient. It's very obvious that cats like rejection because they never want to be with you in the first place. Whereas dogs, being very pack animals and social, like human beings, that's why we love having dogs around. You reject a dog, it will be mournful. I don't know if you've ever had a dog, a close. Like you just shut a dog, you know, just shutting it outside, reject it, physically isolating and rejecting it because it's a pack animal, just like us. So we long to be with other human beings, but of course we we nearly always want that to be on our terms. You know, we want the other human beings to behave themselves, behave in a way that suits us. And so the constant compromise can be a pain in the ass to the point where you think, well, I'm probably better off on my own.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Sophie. I don't know what that rambling was all about.
I don't know, you say you have no answer, but it was really nice to listen to. So
There's no answer, but boy, can I come out with some.
yes, you can.
Well, the thing is, it's really obvious that we are very social animals. You know, so it might seem attractive to be on your own and in no relationship, because then you don't have to, there's no compromise required. I mean, the longing for human companionship is the most natural thing. That's why I like doing this, even though, you know, it would be great if we were just sitting together drinking coffee, but this is better than nothing.
I just want to say that I love the way you express yourself. It's very inspiring. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Sophie.
So I was just thinking, Tim, so Sophie said that she thought rejection belongs to the me.
Yes.
So what does belong to the me?
Nothing.
for decision making, if it takes a long time, often me might think, oh, it's taking me ages, I can't think, I need to sort this out, but it's just taking a long time.
Yeah, and when it's taken a long time and me just drops it, then the decision just gets made and you go, oh, the decision's made. Well, I fucking didn't do that. I've been working on it for days, you know, weighing up pros and cons, looking at different angles, doing all that, and then oh, I've had enough of that, and then suddenly, oh yeah, I'll do that, and it's very obvious that that's come from nowhere, absolutely, literally out of thin air, the decision.
I think often there's an idea, isn't there, that before it's going to be different to after, in that you know, that somehow oh, what was I thinking? I don't know, it's just gone now, gone out of my head. It'll come back in a minute.
Yeah,
that somehow that when you think about what does belong to the me, it's really hard to think about anything at all. So literally everything that happened before is going to happen after. It's just that it's not yours. It never was yours.
no.
The whole thing.
And then it could be, I mean, this is probably a biggie. It might be undeniable that there wasn't a before and an after. There isn't a before and an after. That's why you don't hear me talk of a shift. I don't talk of a shift. I just don't. What's going to shift? You could say there's only shifting. There is no shift. I mean, this doesn't stay still, and yet is completely still.
Yeah, there's that expectation. Oh, I won't do that when I'm liberated, or when I wake up, whatever. I won't do that. But you're already not doing that.
No, you're not doing it with the illusion that you are doing it. That's or the conviction is
conviction.
I mean, it is it's both beautiful and dreadful if it's realized that you never did anything. It is lovely because there's a freedom and innocence in that, you know, no one's responsible. The absolute lack of responsibility is it's terrible for self, because self has been, well, why did I feel so responsible? All the, you know, I spent a lifetime berating myself for all my irresponsibility. You know, when I did something irresponsible, and I was responsible for others' pain. Well, wonderfully, there's no one responsible for anyone else's pain. But self never wants complete innocence. Always wants someone to blame. There's got to be someone to blame. Otherwise, there's no reason for anything.
Well, and it's so uncomfortable. I remember my boy always used to, when he was a bit younger, he doesn't do it now, but every time he lost a game on Fortnite, it was so uncomfortable. He'd just have to find someone to blame. And usually it was me, because I was just sat next to him. Or I moved my leg.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever been in therapy, there's only, I mean, who gets the brunt of the blame? Parents every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. If in doubt, blame your mother. That's my therapeutic advice to everyone. If you're not sure why you fucked up, just think on your mother a little bit, and I'm sure you can think of a few reasons to blame her. I know I did. Sorry, Pamela. And then I would tell Pamela as well. I would have to then come home and confess, like to the priest, you know, to the Almighty Mother. I would then even, although I'd blame her in therapy, then I'm ever so sorry, Mum. I said it was your fault. Beautiful. And of course, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't my fault.
No.
There's no fault. I mean, it isn't that this is perfect, but it is faultless.
Mm.
Life is faultless, blameless.
You could find fault, but it would just be a story.
Always. And of course, your fault, you ask someone else and they go, well, I quite like that. I thought that was the best bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Razia has a hand up.
Hi, Razia.
I too. No, I was just thinking, like, I mean, when you get up in the morning and then sitting down, you're having your coffee, and then you have this thought, like, I wonder, did I feed the birds, or did I go outside, or did I do this, you know? Now, you don't know, like, how does that thought come up? Like, you know, how do you choose which thought should come? I mean, you're not choosing, obviously.
No.
And then the thoughts just pop in. And yeah, and then like Sophie says, some thoughts are given more weight than other thoughts. Okay, I'll think about this a bit more deeply. It seems to be more important than deciding whether what I should feed the birds today, you know, kind of a thing. So yeah, so that in itself, I mean, points to our choicelessness, that we cannot even choose what thought to think about, you know? I don't know.
I think,
Maybe.
I mean, nothing to do with non-duality. Most people get that they don't choose their thoughts.
Yeah.
Unless they go to see
Yeah.
a CBT therapist. And then, of course, if you've been to CBT, then you get expert in doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, when we talk about choicelessness, it's like things are just seemingly happening without like you're looking at everything around you and it's happening. So, but there is that appearance of choice. And with that also comes this guilt and shame and blame and everything else, you know? And then you'll still go back and say, but people are choiceless, you know, that they have no choice. And if you don't have a choice, it's easier to forgive. And then you look at others that they don't have a choice as well, you know. And then now it's like this, what can you do now? You know, you're looking at that life just simply happens. And there's no blame and shame and guilt and fear anymore. And forgiveness comes, like your forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others. The seeming me can now forgive this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it knows that these are things that will happen, and people, you can't like hold someone accountable if they have no choice, you know? It makes no sense at all.
No.
But we're human, and that's the humanness that comes into the fore and says, "What the heck? I can't forgive you."
Well, I don't think if hello, what was that, Darren?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And then people will say, "Oh, you know, when you tell people more about yourself, they'll love you more, you know, the more you reveal about yourself." But unfortunately,
Who says that?
Michael,
I'd say
Michael
it very
says,
much depends on what you're revealing.
exactly. So
Yeah, only if they like what's being revealed.
Yeah. So yeah,
I will
that's the
say
thing.
about
And then
forgiveness.
people feel so free now to talk about themselves, thinking there's a non-judgmental atmosphere, and people will understand that there's no choice in what you have done. Like, if you really think about it, if a man picks up a knife to stab someone else, at that particular time when he picks up that knife, did he have a choice? You know? In that split second, that was the only thing he could have done. And he does it because it's going to be to protect himself.
Yeah.
So
you better not tell don't go around telling too many people that.
Yeah. But I mean,
No one
at the
wants to hear
same
that.
time, you'll also know that any normal person in their right frame of mind doesn't need a moral code. You know what I mean? You don't need to tell that not everyone is going to go around killing other people. That's just not in all of us. We have a moral code. I don't know. But simply, some people wouldn't never do it. But that's a difficult question.
I've had people say to me, well, if there's no choice, then why do I not go out and kill people? You know, why don't I murder people? Or why don't I go just rob the bank? Or I haven't got a bank. Why don't I rob the one-stop shop in Maney?
Yeah, it's our programming.
Well, because naturally this human being isn't a robber or a murderer. That's not to say it couldn't happen, but it's not. Every human being is just acting naturally as it is.
Yes.
We don't blame snarly, bitey dogs, do we? We just steer clear of them.
Yes.
So I'm not suggesting you go and frequent murderers and violent people.
Yeah.
And this isn't a condoning. There's no condoning, because it may sound like condoning, but this is not condoning anything. It's just saying it's as it is. That's not the same thing. And the one other thing I'll say just at the end, what you said about forgiveness. Actually, when there's no one to forgive, there's no need for forgiveness. Forgiveness, it's like forgiveness is a given if there's no one responsible. If everything is being done, all doing is innocent, then there's no need for forgiveness. So all our Christian or any other religious upbringing that insists on forgiveness is a vital tenet of the faith. You know, forgiveness is essential, and of course your own forgiveness is of paramount importance. All of that is redundant. There is you could say everything is already forgiven, but that's not true. It's just all innocent. So you never have to forgive the innocent, do you? There is no forgiveness required for all that is innocent. We would never look to forgive a newborn baby.
Yeah,
and also, could say,
what about
guilt?
Letting go, and then we say, oh, you have to let go, you know? And
No.
then who is there now that is going to let go?
No, there's nothing to be let go.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Razia. I spent a long time trying to let go of myself. You probably have as well.
You could also say guilt and shame are redundant as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they are
innocence,
yeah.
I think if you hurt someone, you might feel sorry for hurting that person.
No,
I wouldn't say there's any guilt.
No, it's regret. It's regret rather than guilt.
Obvious. Yeah, it's obvious that nothing else could have happened. But
no, you can still regret it and feel passion and I would say, oh yeah, I wish that hadn't happened, but
exactly.
It did seem to happen, and I'm sorry. So you'll apologize without any guilt. There'll be apologies very easy.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I found it hard to apologize. You know.
Yeah.
Self had to climb down off its high horse and grovel for forgiveness. Fucking nice to not to do that anymore. No more groveling. No, fuck off. You want my forgiveness? Well, I'll give it or not. You know, I'm not groveling for your forgiveness.
And it didn't even really want forgiveness. It just wanted relief for itself, really. More.
Absolutely. I couldn't give a shit as long as you're not. What?
Yeah. David has his hand up.
Yeah, let David have what he wants to say.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, David.
I've really enjoyed our talk today. I think most people would accept that they don't choose their preferences, and yet it's happens, and it's kind of like life is a train ride. Yeah, before you get on the train, you think you're making the choices and get to buying the ticket and all this kind of thing. Get on the train, though, and you've given up your choices to the train. You may have a preference for big cities or little cities, but you get what comes along, and enjoy it. It's kind of like what the shift is getting on the train and releasing all control to life. Life is the train. Life is it, you know. And
yeah, I like your train analogy until of course you could jump off the train. You could get off at the next stop.
Yeah.
You could I don't know. It's yeah, the train analogy.
Yeah, it breaks down at a certain point, but it's generally applicable, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't let go. I don't know how much trying to let go you've done, but I mean, I think just surrender is no different to trying.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I didn't let go either. I mean, I disappeared. The chooser disappeared.
Yeah, disappeared is better. I mean, I felt that I don't know what came to get me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No.
I have no idea. I mean, it didn't show his, you know, he was kind of sneaky in an all-consuming way. Never showed his face. I never got to see.
Why should it?
I never got to see who came to get me. But I tell you what, I resisted with all my ability, all self's ability to resist.
Yeah.
It was all in full throttle.
Yeah.
And the wonderful news I've got for everyone is you can kick and scream as much as you like. Life doesn't even notice that you exist. So it doesn't hear. No one's hearing. Nothing can hear you.
Yeah.
Isn't that dreadfully wonderful? So you can scream and you can say whatever you want, all your desires, all your fears. Nothing's listening.
Yeah.
And that is dreadful for me, but it's wonderful because there's all the freedom.
It's a freedom. Yeah.
It's a wonderful freedom that you don't want.
Yeah. Because
it'll appear just as it is.
Yeah.
Completely unbidden. You can't. There's no discrimination. You don't get any say.
Yeah.
And just face it, all you've ever wanted is a say. I want my say. Well, you don't have a say. You've never had a say. You never will have a say. But then that's wonderfully equal. No one ever has. You know, don't think Buddha had more say than you. Don't think Jesus had more say than you. He didn't.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thanks, David. Well, lovely to see everyone. If you're bored and you would like a bedtime read, don't forget the book. If you do buy the book, what I would appreciate is a wonderfully glowing review. You can have some, I don't mind a slight criticism, but make it fucking slight. You know, don't go overboard on it. You don't have to say it's the best non-duality book ever written, but put it up there somewhere.
What's the title again, Tim?
What is the title? The Illusion of Continuity. So very grand. I can't, yeah, there was a lot of thought went into that. So you can diss it if you want, but that went through a very rigorous
Stringent.
process of elimination to come up with that. Yeah, but I am glad it's finally on Amazon. I'm not in Kindle for the time being, but maybe in a little while. See you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care. Thanks, Daz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
You.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Michael Hope has put the illusion of constipation. I will say there's nothing illusory about constipation. If you have constipation, you're going to fucking know it. That is real. If anything is real, constipation is real.
And on that note,
And on that high note,
Oh boy.
So, Tim,
au revoir.
Michael Hoppen and I would like to chat with you if you have a second. We have
Sure.
a potential proposal.
I'll just